How does a bastard orphan son of a whore and a Scotsman dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by providence, impoverished in squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar? Well, the word got around, they said this kid is insane, man. Took up a collection just to send him to the mainland. Get your education, don't forget from whence you came, and the world is gonna know your name. What's your name, man?
Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Yeah, I know who I am. Who the fuck are you?
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only podcast patriotic enough to celebrate the semi-quincentennial. I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Bryans.
Eagerly anticipating the 250th birthday of our country.
We are in the reflecting pool right now.
That's right.
We're in that
gross in here.
fuck-ass little arch that they made out of plywood.
The columns do not touch the ground.
The Focus on the Family tent is 100 yards away from us.
I'm picking up little pieces of blue coating.
Yep, Josh is sabotaging it. He's sabotaging
I'm
it.
eating it. I'm
Officer,
eating it.
arrest this man. Constable, help, mods.
And what's this? What's this that we have here? Why, it's a boombox that contains a mixtape.
Yes,
Oh, but what
and-
kind of mixtape is it? Could it perhaps be a Hamilton mixtape?
It could, in
could.
fact, because folks, we're doing it.
We're finally fucking doing
We're
it.
doing it.
We're not throwing away our shot.
We've done a bunch of timeless references at the beginning of this episode so that it will always
That's right.
refuse to age. It will
History
always be
will
relevant.
look kindly on that
It
intro.
has its eyes on us.
History will not remember the reflecting pool, but we got to talk about it anyway.
I will, and that's what matters.
In addition to celebrating 250 years of America, we're also celebrating 10 years plus another one.
10 plus 1 years, also known as 11.
We're not, it was closed for most of 2020 and 2021,
You're
so
right.
we've subtracted
We'll say
a
10
year
years.
there. It's 10 years of Hamilton.
Seismic event, not just in the musical theater world, but in the popular culture at large.
Yeah, I mean, we talked obviously about a chorus line a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Which I think it's fair to say was the last time that there was a musical that became sort of a crossover sensation in the mainstream.
A singular sensation.
Yeah, one singular sensation. Like, not just in the world of like, oh, it's a musical, but oh, it's a thing. Like, of course, we've also talked about like Wicked.
Yeah,
and
like the 80s music, like everyone knows Phantom.
Right.
Les Mis, I think,
Les
also
Mis,
made a
kinda
huge splash, but like every
Cats,
decade has like
I
its
guess,
one.
But like Cats was also seen as like so confined to just being this Broadway thing.
No, whereas Hamilton is like the most important piece of art ever made, according to a bunch of people in 2016.
This is a thing that sold like crazy, that was universally beloved by critics, won every award and a Pulitzer, with like star power behind it, with a guy who wasn't a star before it happened.
He was sort of in the theater world,
but not,
like outside
not
of
a
it.
household name.
Well, no,
certainly.
he was a household name.
Dr. House is in the house, y'all. Give it up for Dr. House to the stage, y'all. They say to take their pills. They say don't be a creep. But how can I get better? I can't get no sleep.
The big thing with Hamilton, as opposed to something like Wicked, is that because it is a show that tries to engage fundamental questions of the United States, its national identity, and of course the forgotten $10 founding father.
Without a father.
That's damn true. It became such a hot button topic across the board, even for people who like, not even people who don't give a shit about musicals, but like people who don't even give a shit about the concept of theater.
Yeah, we're going to talk about what this show was in its exterior, because it was the perfect embodiment of, I think, what a certain segment of America, which is to say the target audience for this show, thought America was at the exact time that this opened.
Yes, in many ways, this show was the Camelot of its time. This was a musical that was about the current administration and was so tied to the current administration that it became inseparable from it. Yeah. And now, looking back on it, It has become a period piece faster than I think any musical since Camelot.
Even a fucking chorus line, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, we had talked about how that's a period piece. We've talked about a lot of period pieces, but what happened in 2016, the same year that Hamilton won all those Tony Awards, dare I say it, the world turned upside down with the election of Donald John Trump as the president of the United States. And all of a sudden, all of the presuppositions about what this country is and can be for the people who loved this show were shown to be incomplete at best and laughably gullible at worst.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best example of that is after January 6th happened. I forget who it was that wrote it, but someone posted a tweet that said the liberal version of January 6th, and I have to say, they weren't satirizing liberals, they were saying this positively, would be we would get the cast of Hamilton around the Congress.
That's right.
And have them sing from the galleries in a soft whisper, history has its eyes on you. And it's like, yes, you're right. And you have no idea how humiliating that is and how much that illustrates your understanding of politics, which was the understanding of politics of the Obama, Clinton again era.
Yes. This show was a victory lap for America. We have defeated racism. We are now rewriting our history to be more inclusive, to make it look more like America today, because there's nowhere to go from here but up.
Because in this conception, we are all unified, we being the whole goddamn country, we are all unified in this understanding.
Yeah, everyone agrees on Hamilton. Dick Cheney and Barack Obama love Hamilton.
George W. Bush is in the documentary about the making of Hamilton saying, you know, some people aren't appreciated in their time. And I'm like, of course you'd say that, George.
They keep cutting back to like fucking Paul Ryan. I'm like, suck my dick, PBS.
I completely forgot he existed.
Am I the only one who saw it on Broadway with the original cast?
Yes, I threw away my shot, actually. I had a ticket to see it on Broadway with the original cast.
Really?
And I booked it way far in advance. Right? And then Puffs transferred off Broadway, and our final tech was that night that I was supposed to go see Hamilton. So I threw away my shot. I gave my ticket to William Vaughn, who listeners of this podcast will recognize as having sung the role of Ted Bundy in our most recent episode, live show episode. And at intermission, he texted me, I'm like, how was it? He's like, I think this is incredible. I don't understand why there's an Act 2. He goes back in and watches Act 2. And I text him after at like 10:30 when I think the show's out. I'm like, hey, William, how was it? He does not answer. I text him again 30 minutes later. How was it? 30 minutes later. How was it? I call him. He is still crying. And he just says to me, the 1700s were so hard, AJ.
My experience with it was that I made sure to buy a ticket well ahead of time because I knew it was going to sell out and I wanted to see it with the original cast. What I remember at the time, of course, was the hype.
Yeah.
Everybody saying this is the best show to come to Broadway in our generation.
Sure.
A life-changingly great show. My experience with it was first act also being very impressed with a lot of what was going on, although becoming increasingly irritated with some of the direction. And then coming away from the second act being like, this didn't do what I thought it was going to do.
The Act 2 that Act 1 sets up is very different from the one we actually end up getting.
And I would argue very different from the way that the public theater was advertising the show when it had its premiere, because the central thing that they advertised it with is the question that comes up in the show a few times lyrically, who lives, who dies, who tells your story?
It was on the poster.
Right. That with history has its eyes on you. It's telling you something about how history gets told through the lens of a person that we didn't necessarily know a whole lot about.
And
at that time.
Of course, on top of this was the fact that this is a play that is predominantly cast of people of color, right?
Right, yes.
It is trying to sort of reclaim narratives, I guess you could say.
Yes, absolutely.
By being like, well, all of the people who are in the United States now have equal claim on our country's story to white people.
Right.
And
Yes.
so we ought to build a show that reflects that.
Patriotic liberalism, or even
Exactly.
progressivism, if you want to say.
And what I got instead is a very straightforward, musicalized retelling of a piece of history.
Yeah,
Yes.
and specifically a biography written by one guy. Ron Chernow. It is not based on the life of Alexander Hamilton. It is based on Chernow's biography.
Right.
My experience with Hamilton started with Stephen Sondheim's books on his lyrics.
On Lin's lyrics?
No, on his own lyrics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because in one of the, I forget which one of the books, he publishes a little section about rap and how he at one time attempted something like rap in Into the Woods, how rap actually has a long history on Broadway. Look at, say, The Music Man as a show that's not using rap, hip hop, but it is using spoken word.
He's a what? He's a music man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that old fashioned patter. And he has an aside talking about Lin-Manuel Miranda, who he had worked with briefly because Lin translated lyrics for West Side Story, which was done in a bilingual production in 2009.
Yep.
And he's like, I love this guy. He broke his rule of not talking about living artists ever since that whole dust up with the chorus line.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, but the thing is, I really like Trey Parker and Matt Stone and Lin-Manuel Miranda. And, talking about him on a personal level, too, and just how talented he thinks he is and how he has this idea of something called Hamilton mixtape. And I remember reading that and thinking, that sounds like a fantastic idea.
And I remember getting my hands on that album for the first time. And it was like this very plush thing. Like I bought it at a Barnes and Noble.
Plush?
Right? Yeah, it was a little fluffy. Really? It had a little it was in a way that those 2-disc cast recordings sort of had a little bit of like softness to them.
There's a
when
little
you
bit of
squeezed
air
on
in
them.
them, but it's not like it's not like actually plush.
No, it's not actual plush, but that's the feeling you
You're
get
just
when you
being
squeeze
poetic.
into it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I remember when I was listening to it for the first time, I remember driving down like the highways of San Diego and just being like, I haven't felt like this since I was a teenager. Listening to this cast recording reminded me of like getting my hands on a new Sondheim or getting my hands on a new musical that I'd never heard of before and sort of navigating its waters. And it was really thrilling because that is the way I experienced Hamilton. Since I'd never seen it, I've never seen it live.
Oh, you still have never seen it live.
I still have never seen it live.
Okay.
I saw the pro shot.
We
all
did
seen the pro
not
shot.
spend company money to go see the show. We talked about it, but it's just like, it's too much.
It was really, and it was also the prices have gone up because it is the 250th.
Yeah.
We kind of missed our shot again. But we did watch. I
don't think I've missed anything. I think I'm fine currently. I saw Lin-Manuel Miranda's performance at the White House of this show. And what's really interesting about that is everyone is laughing.
Alexander Hamilton. His name is Alexander Hamilton. And there's a million things he hasn't done.
The framing is all built around Aaron Burr. At this point in time, this song is the only thing that exists. And he is writing a musical where the main character is Aaron Burr. And he is looking at Hamilton through his lens. This will change drastically for the worse, in my opinion.
I agree.
But after that, of course, my experience with the show was the album. Primarily, I think in a lot of ways, it's a better album than it is a show. I think this is true of like most of the sung through musicals. This is why some of the biggest, most trend-setting of the sung through musicals started as albums themselves. Evita, Jesus Christ Superstar,
Chess.
Chess.
Yes.
Chess isn't sung through. Chess has a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
Fuck, you're right.
But Hamilton does not have a lot of dialogue, and it leads to a lot of weird moments that are not weird when you're listening to it on an album.
Right.
Because when you listen to a cast album, you're kind of filling in blanks. You're like, oh, I bet there was some dialogue between this part and that part.
Well, Brian, you mentioned that number that was performed at the White House. That is the opening number to this show.
With a cousin, the cousin committed suicide. Left him with nothing but ruined pride. Something new inside a voice saying, Alex, you gotta fend for yourself. He started retreating and reading every treatise on the shelf. There would have been nothing left to do for someone less astute. He would have been dead and destitute without a cent or restitution. Started working, clerking for his late mother's landlord, trading sugar cane and rum and all the things he can.
This is narration. This is a very dark narration. It covers whole chapters of Hamilton's life that would be...
They put him in charge of a trading charter.
They did.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
So much of this would be an interesting enough drama on its own. The abject poverty that he was living in, his mother dying, moving from one island to another, having to deal with Danish people.
Awful. Have you seen the Tall Bart YouTube poop of the Hamilton theme song?
It's
where everybody
really
just
good.
keep talking about how they put him in charge of a trading charter.
They placed him in charge of a trading charter.
And every day while
They
slaves
placed him in charge of a trading charter.
and every day while slaves were being
They
slaughtered.
placed him in charge of a trading.
This is a masterclass in condensing information.
Yeah.
Right? Miranda is really, really good at getting large chunks of information to you very, very quickly, economically, and in a way where you don't even realize how much you're like absorbing in that moment because the rhymes are so good.
But on the flip side, this density of information when you're hearing it, and if you don't know anything about Alexander Hamilton, which most people, including myself, did not watching the show for the first time.
Absolutely not, yeah.
I knew the Got Milk commercial.
Yeah, me too. Directed by
Michael Bay.
There's a lyric in here that jumps out at me, right? We are waiting in the wings for you. They say, Alexander Hamilton, we are waiting in the wings for you. We are basically at your beck and call.
Alexander Hamilton, we are waiting in the wings for you. Waiting in the wings, you never back down, you never learn to take your time. Oh, Alexander Hamilton, when America sings for you.
So all of history is in service to him. We have all the ghosts of this theater, and the whole set looks like we're just sort of looking at a backstage area, and everyone is here for Hamilton.
This is obviously not what the show is trying to do, but I think it's worth noting the fact that almost all of these people are black and brown people who are talking about how they exist in service of Alexander Hamilton.
Yes, which
it's weird.
It's weird. It's like, one, it's a great man of history. They're going to tell a story about a great man, but they're also kind of making the assertion through this musical that Alexander Hamilton is the great man. He is the single most important part of America, not the bad stuff, though. We're not going to talk about that part.
Yeah, no. He is the embodiment of the American spirit and dream. It's not that
he's a cigarette.
There have been other Alexander Hamiltons, I think.
Alexander's Hamilton, in Miranda's opinion.
Alexander Hamilton Jr., for instance.
Yeah, for instance. Or perhaps Miranda's father, which we will get. Who? Don't worry about it.
But the point that I wanted to make here is that this attitude, I guess, that the show takes toward America's peculiar institution is going to be the way that it is treated throughout this show. And that is because if you bring the reality of slavery into the founding of this country, you have to do the show about slavery because that and the extermination of indigenous people are the two things that the country was built upon.
And we had a musical that did that back in like 2008, I want to say, called Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson.
Right.
Yes.
And it remixed the era of Andrew Jackson as America's angsty adolescent years using pastiche of emo and punk music.
Why wouldn't you ever go out with me in school? You always went out with those guys who thought they were so cool, and I was just nobody to you. But it's the early 19th century, and we're gonna take this country back for people like...
Unfortunately, it's not a great show. It has a lot of...
It's got some really good shit going on.
It's also got a lot of tonal issues because it can't figure out where it wants to sort of land in terms of the irony versus sincerity divide.
And also how much they want to make it look like Jackson was someone who violated his ideals, even though they know right up front that he's like a homicidal maniac.
Right.
They kind of walk it back for a while for the sake of making good drama.
Sometimes you have to take the initiative.
Sometimes your whole family dies of cholera.
Sometimes you have to make your own story.
Sometimes you have to shoot the storyteller in the neck.
Sometimes you have to take back the country. Sometimes you have to kill everyone.
What Hamilton is doing is not using it as satire, is not using it as a criticism of America.
100% earnest all the time.
What he's saying is we can use this story of a man in the 18th century, map it onto the story of people in the 20th century to inspire people in the 21st century.
When again, all of this goes to plan and Hillary Rodham Clinton is elected in 2016.
Because Hamilton is played by a Puerto Rican New Yorker. He is described with what noun that starts with the letter I? Immigrant.
Yes.
He is an immigrant, which is not necessarily how he would have been seen in his day.
Right.
But that is the language that we are going to be using for him throughout. Both as a positive look at where he came from and used as an epithet by his enemies. Look at this immigrant.
This is where it gets a little bit awkward, and we'll talk a bit more about this, how this mapping just doesn't quite wash.
Yeah.
But so much of the reason that he uses this framing is that because, as we've been saying, so much of this show is about Lin-Manuel Miranda, the guy who wrote it and plays Hamilton. his dad, Luis.
You don't have to do a lot of digging. He says this over and over and over again in various documentaries on PBS and HBO Max, although it's not on HBO anymore. Siempre Luis is kind of hard to find at this point.
Oh, well.
But
so much for Siempre.
Yeah. Nunca Luis. So Lin-Manuel says, I'm playing my father. I'm writing my father.
That's why he has his hair like that.
Yes. His dad's hair is like what Lin grew his hair out to be when he played Hamilton.
If you're not familiar with Luis Miranda, he is one of the most powerful men in New York City politics.
Yes.
Well, maybe not so much right now, actually.
Probably right at the moment, he's kind of floundering. All of his big endorsements for this primary cycle
it didn't work out.
Yeah, they didn't win.
But historically, has sort of presented himself as being the deal maker for New York City's Hispanic community in general and its Puerto Rican community more specifically.
Yeah. Yes. So when he was 18 years old, he was already married. He was a student at UPR in San Juan, and he got the chance to go to NYU. Sort of like how Alexander Hamilton wrote an article in a poem or something about the hurricane and people raised money to send him to New York.
He wrote his way out.
Luis Miranda got this deal where basically NYU wanted psych majors from Puerto Rico, and I think it was basically kind of like you were paying your UPR tuition, which for a lot of people was free. So he could go to New York City if he majored in psych. He says the only thing he has retained from that major was statistics.
You know what the toughest thing is about majoring in psych? It's when you get there and they say, psych, and then it turns out you didn't get in after all.
No! Here's the thing, Josh. I already knew that.
Oh.
I know. You know.
He's not telling
I'm not telling the truth.
Oh, boy.
He divorces his wife, goes to New York, studies psychology, marries another psych major, who he's still married to today, and after school moves up to Washington Heights. And eventually, we have this mayor of New York, a guy, a figure of legend, if you know the history of AIDS in New York. Yeah, this is not going in a good direction. I am talking about Ed Koch.
Fucking cocksucker in every sense of the
term.
Yes,
Fucking cocksucker.
He was a nasty, closeted homosexual who did not care about anyone except himself. Luis Miranda is described by his close friends as a Puerto Rican version of Ed Koch, minus the gay part, I guess.
Right.
He joined Koch's administration as the head of Hispanic outreach. What Luis saw was something very clever, which was that there was no unity among Latinos in New York City.
Right.
If you were Puerto Rican, you were Puerto Rican, New York. If you were Dominican, you were Dominican. If you were Mexican, you were Mexican. There was nothing tying people together, which is a problem for politics.
Right.
You need to, it's a numbers game.
Right. You need
gotta
to
get the most
deliver
numbers.
votes on block.
He remembered the statistics part of his psych major.
In the mid-'80s, Reagan signs an Amnesty Act that suddenly grants citizenship to a lot of people, and specifically a lot of Latinos in New York who can now vote. Because Puerto Ricans can vote.
Right.
They're U.S. citizens as of 1917, and they can't vote for anything federally that matters while they're in Puerto Rico, but they can come to any state, live in any state, and then be a voting member of that populace. So he's seeing an existing Puerto Rican base of people who are immigrants in a real sense, but not in a sense that prevents them from voting, and now a bunch of people who are new potential voters. We can get Hispanics into office, and that's one of the most important things for him. Although, for a lot of this, he also works with the Giuliani administration and the Dinkins administration.
But to your point about getting demographics in office, right? One thing that helps in this is that the nature of New York City, because of how it was built, how it was developed, and of course how it was redlined, the congressional districts are strongly divided along ethnic lines.
Yes. Then he gets to work on some bigger campaigns. He works for Schumer.
Okay.
Schumer becomes the senator from New York. Then he works on Hillary Clinton's campaign.
The other senator from New York.
So he gets both senators from New York at the same time. Then he works on the campaign for Adriano Espaillat. Oh,
the now former congressman?
Well, soon to be former. Just lost a primary. He will be out of office, I guess, in January.
Right.
And if you look at Luis Miranda's tweets, of course, he'll amplify whatever he needs to amplify in the moment. When Mamdani got elected, he had nothing against Mamdani. He wasn't really batting for Cuomo, and he was defending him online. Then, once Mamdani's endorsing the people that he doesn't like, he's not necessarily saying anything directly in public about Mamdani, but he is retweeting people who are calling Mamdani a Sharia law shithead or whatever the fuck.
What I will say is, Brian, you sent us a whole slideshow of all of his tweets and the tonal whiplash between
so
each
funny.
one. It's really wild.
And because he's a higher level figure within the party, he is not a sour grapes poster afterwards, right? They leave that kind of posting to the Brooklyn dad to the influencers.
Sure.
But for people like him, it's all about the next race.
And this is just how New York City machine politics has worked for the past few decades.
It's all because it's downstream of the mob, right? That's what used to run New York
and
City.
And just ethnic gangs more broadly. If you were not part of the core, well-heeled and well-established middle class, by and large, you were probably getting support from other people from your ethnicity, whether you're Irish, Italian, Puerto Rican, Jewish,
Chinese,
like
any of that. Like, that's how it works here. Less so now,
right?
But it's still there, baby.
Yeah, and you can understand why Lin-Manuel Miranda hangs on to playing Hamilton for as long as he does, and how precious he is about that role, because he just wants to portray his father.
There's
and
something
do him proud.
that Luis says all the time, which is patria y familia, country and family. For him, they're the same thing.
Right.
You put equal priority into both. And for Lin-Manuel, of course, he worked for his dad for a little while as like a teenager or whatever, worked at the office, hated it, stopped doing it. He reads this book and he's like, this is dad. This is a book about dad. I love my dad so fucking much.
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who is this kid? What's he gonna do?
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. And yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I'ma get a scholarship to King's College. I probably shouldn't brag, but dag, I'm amazed and astonished. The problem is a lot of brains, but no polish. I gotta holler just to be.
And this introduces us to our main cast of characters, right? We get the first interaction between...
Kind of. Because we also get some new people in like Act 2.
We do. But they're all played by basically the same people. Yeah. Right? And so we establish a tone and we establish a certain relationship to these actors.
Yeah.
And
we've got Burr. We've got
Aaron
Hamilton.
Burr.
We've got Hercules Mulligan. And most of these guys that he's hanging out with here at this bar are people who are going to be in the Sons of Liberty with him.
Yes.
They are conspirators.
Yes.
Meeting and drinking, and Hamilton doesn't know how to have friends yet. He is played very much like a child here at the beginning.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's also played very much like a child for kind of the rest of the show too. He's always pretty doe-eyed.
In Lin-Manuel Miranda's interpretation, absolutely.
Yeah.
There is always this sort of golly gee willikers thing about him that he can't ever shake, because that's
who he is.
That's who he is.
Yeah.
And that's also what he's good at. When I saw him do In the Heights, when I saw him play Usnavi, I think he is so electric in that
because
show.
Usnavi is a very callow young man.
He's a bit of a Dorcas. You know?
Like he raps really well, but he's a nerd. He references fucking 42nd Street.
Yeah.
in
He's
his
talking about
raps.
Cole Porter, and he's a guy who's like absorbing everything just like Lin, right? The only difference is that Lin was raised by a political operative and a psychologist, and Usnavi, his character in the Heights, is a guy who owns a bodega who's an orphan.
So my shot is all about revolution.
When you're living on your knees, you rise up. Tell your brother that he's gotta rise up.
And the kinds of people and the kinds of environments that exist at a time of revolution. People are going to bars and talking about, how are we going to change this entire country?
Yes.
And then who's going to get the jobs when we do it?
It directly maps the American Revolution, which was fundamentally a bourgeois revolution.
Right.
Upper middle class people and above not wanting taxation and other things from the crown back in Britain.
Yo, I'm a tailor's apprentice, and I got y'all knuckleheads and local parentes. I'm joining a rebellion, cause I know it's my chance to socially advance. Instead of sewing some pants, I'm gon' take shit.
But we'll never be truly free until those in bondage have the same rights as you and me. You and I do or die. Wait till I sally in on a stallion with the first black battalion. Never another
And
shot.
all of these performances are contributing, I think, to this sense that these are just some fellas down at the pub.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, I guess, sort of true, but also kind of not really, because again, the mechanics of how this specific revolution is working are not grounded in the workers, but it tries to present it as something that is in the manner of a more modern Marxist-style revolution.
Right.
And so I guess my big question here at this point is, what does revolution mean to these actual historical figures as opposed to this show's version of them?
Yeah.
How does that then translate to what the audience is thinking? And how does that compare to the people who actually can't afford $1,000 a ticket in 2016 to get in, or 500 pounds in 2026 to get in and see Leslie Odom Jr. reprise his role on the West End right now?
We are giving a show that would have driven Hamilton completely insane because he thought of the masses as a great beast. That was his term. I think if he were alive in the 20th century, he'd be a Randian. You know, he believes in a world where excellent people are able to get a hold of the resources and keep them out of the hands. It's like Voltaire. This is Voltaire talking about how, like, I hate religion and it's disgusting and awful and I'll make fun of it, but also we kind of need it because everybody below me is a caveman.
He'd be hanging out with fucking Peter Thiel at Dialogue, you know?
Oh my God.
Genuinely.
He would be at every fucking one of those goddamn, like, events. Yeah.
Hamilton would love AI. Let's just be very clear. He would be fully on board.
I think for the regular audience, this is totally palatable because they're seeing themselves on that stage. The kind of person who's paying $1,000 for a ticket is right there. And to the person who is paying $10 to see the show, they're also seeing themselves because that's the country that we live in.
Right.
We live in a country of temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
Yeah.
Everyone identifies with the people at the top because those are the stories that they are fed from the moment that they are born. And they are fed that this is what America is, and I must be part of it.
But it gets so fucking weird then, too, when you are talking about Hamilton specifically coming up from the Caribbean, when you look at the history of the United States relationship with countries like, let's say, Cuba, or France's relationship with Haiti, or the United States relationship with Puerto Rico, which is technically part of the country.
Well, what were the majority of people living on the islands that Hamilton lived on? What did they look like? They weren't Danes.
Well, they looked like the people up on stage, and that's where it gets weird.
They placed him in charge of a trading charter.
And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away.
In answer to your question, Josh, what are the people in the audience thinking? They're thinking, look how far we've come, but also look how cool we were. There is a certain level of, these are the people that founded the nation that now means that I can go to the theater and pay this amount of money. I have become this successful. Look at these people that made that happen and just how cool they are. They can rap so well and they can harmonize with each other.
Yes, AJ, my dad is awesome.
Yes. And I will also say they can dance like the wind because boy howdy.
They have to for some reason.
They never stop.
They never stop dancing.
Hey there, you are listening to a preview of a premium episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this, head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/worstofall. And you can listen to not only the rest of this episode, but our entire backlog of premium episodes, bonus episodes, and if you subscribe at the $10 tier, you will get an extra episode of the podcast every single month. Again, that is patreon.com/worstofall. Hope to see you there.